be here. Such a pleasure. Speak with Mason and Allie here. We're going to talk a little bit about changing gears and the phases of life. And nothing in life stays static. Nothing in life is going to be the same as it always was. And I think very often we're not very good friends to ourselves. That we're not really compassionate and sometimes honest about the changes that happen. Whether it be a change from being single to dating to married to having young kids, and the responsibilities and the new levels of systems that are necessary to succeed with that. Whether it be going from inertia and maybe not having been performing to beginning to perform, and to understand that there's a process between 0 and doing 10 meet and greets. There's a process from nothing to then lifting 400 pounds. And if you don't honor that process, and if you're not honest about the time it takes and the realities of this, then very oftentimes we end up with situations that we don't want, a lot of disappointment, and a lot of unhappiness that, quite honestly, I don't think any of us have time for. You get one life. We're here, we have an opportunity, we have a dream, we have a desire, you have amazing friends, you have amazing people, and here we are, able to do and walk out our dream to pursue an adventure, to pursue a goal, to make a difference. Why be unhappy and frustrated and ashamed and guilty? Because that's just one more day wasted. One more day wasted. So anyway, any opening comments for you guys? We had a little bit of a switch up here. Gonna be really cool. We've never spoken together before. So gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So I hear your business is absolutely exploding on the Wills, Carrie, Craig, Klickner Bolig team.
That's right.
Guys are in Founder Sapphire qualification.
Right.
We're just really excited for you. So any opening comments?
Go ahead, babe. All right. Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Where I'm kind of like mini Craig, so I'm not going to hit your standard of Craig in terms of the intelligence level. I'm like the dumber version. Actually, I remember meeting Craig when I was 23, thinking like, man, I'm not nearly as smart as this guy. And he just level set me. And he said, yeah, but can you work as hard as me? And I said, I can outwork people. And that's been our journey. I was telling you backstage that, we've never been the fastest growing, but we always worked hard. You guarantee the music in our home is, I am annoyingly consistent dude. And I will get out there every day, do the work that I need to for my family. And I launched at 23. I was all in. I'm an all in kind of guy. I was all in on soccer. That was my sport. I went all in on partying. And then I got into corporate America, and I was going to go all in there. Nice. And then I saw this arena, and I saw the caliber of the men and women here, and I said, this is it. The first conference I ever came to, there was one speaker that looked like me on stage. One speaker. Every other speaker for 3 days didn't look like me. It was in St. Louis, Missouri. And that one speaker, this is the kind of person, I was like, I look for the good in everything. For some reason, and I came to this room, and I saw one speaker that looked like me, and the whole room went black, and I said, that's going to be me in the future.
Love it.
And so we've been all in. That does not mean we've always had momentum and growth. We've always been in the game, but we've struggled, and we've had seasons and seasons, going platinum and post-platinum, that we've struggled. And we're in a season now with kids. And so I want Allie to share a little bit of kind of her journey and kind of the perspective shift we've had, I'd say, going from building it as singles, married, and now with kids, and anything you want to share there.
Yeah, every season for me, I've cemented myself in the system. So I was introduced to this community when I was 19, studying psychology, didn't take a single business course in my life. But I walked into this room not knowing anyone besides my sponsor, who was an acquaintance. And I was like, I'm in. Count me in. How can I get doing life with these people? And from that point forward, I realized I needed to get uncomfortable, though, because I didn't have the skill sets. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was going to really pull out of me, but it's been an incredible journey. Built the business single for a few years. We got engaged, married. married several years, building the business, and then we have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old. So being able to, really adjust and be adaptable, I feel like we've gotten really good at, and are continuing to get good at, having a routine that we can fall back on, but being willing to be fluid with all the changes that are going to come at us, with having a toddler and a growing team that we really serve and care for.
So one of the things, Anthony, I want to kick it over to you, this thought, but I think as you start to evaluate where you are in your life and you start to evaluate what your capacity is at this given season, and I think that's really important. It's one thing to know where you want to go. It's another thing to evaluate your capacity and be honest with yourself. And if you can take it a level and not 10 levels, right? If you can take it a gear up and not 5 gears up, it's much more sustainable. And so one of the things that we had to get really good at in the current season we're at, and we're adjusting, we're fine. It's like, I tell people this all the time. They're like, how is it having 2 kids? You know, everybody's like, oh, it's way harder. It's like, actually, it's not way harder. We have a well-oiled machine. We just added a new component to that machine, and we need to get the thing back in sync again. And we're okay with the season of 3-4 months of getting it back in sync. And we don't beat ourselves up in that season. And so what we've learned how to do is something called surgical strikes. And I think it can be done in every area of your life. If you have a spiritual walk, it can be done there. If it's in your health, it can be done there. One of the things Craig and I have been designing for at least a year now, which is taking way too long, is a surgical strike on workouts, right? Because I have this principle on working out, and he has this principle, and we're trying to meet in the middle. But how can you just be a little bit more potent in the time that you do have and creating results in those moments and memorable moments if you have kids? So Anthony, why don't you share a little bit of kind of how you get in that rhythm, in and out of that rhythm, without getting overly anxious and feeling like you don't belong here anymore. You're not worthy.
Yeah, so a few things off of that, and I'll get to that question, is first off, you have to understand we all have a role. We all have a place. And if you wish you were someone else, you're always going to be miserable. If you wish you were somewhere else, you're always going to be miserable. If you have to win and you have to have success, even if you attain it, you're going to be miserable. You need to know that we need to decide who we're going to be and do what's in front of us. Teddy Roosevelt has a famous quote, you do what you can where you are with what you got. You just start with where you are. So you're not looking to go 5 gears ahead, like Mason said. You know, I'm sure you all rode old school mountain bikes, right? Anybody ride an old school mountain bike in the 90s, 2000s? Who? Just anybody out there? No? Long Island, everyone had a mountain bike. You're supposed to have a mountain bike. And we didn't really ride them anywhere but on the road, which didn't make a lot of sense. But there's gears.
Yeah.
And if you go all the way to the top gear, you can pedal as fast as you can and you don't go anywhere because you're in the wrong gear. So as there are seasons in life, when you're young, you always have a competitive advantage, by the way. I was talking to a new girl on Kaylin Sean's team that's 18. You have a lot of competitive advantages. But people tend to look at where they aren't and what they don't have rather than what they do. So when you're 18, you have no responsibility. You're typically peak coachable. You don't think you know anything when you're 18. You're like, I for sure don't know anything. I haven't done anything. You have tremendous amounts of time, tremendous amounts of energy, and it puts you in a really great spot if you use those things. When we were in our 20s and we were growing at that time, I'll probably venture to say, not that you have to do this, but you probably built the business till like 1 or 2 o'clock, 7 nights a week, right?
That's exactly it.
Because that was our competitive advantage.
Yep.
We weren't that good at it. We were young. Almost everything we did was either halfway crazy or mostly inefficient. But if we did a lot of it, you learned something and you got somewhere. As you have and you're married or you're in a different phase of life, I see a lot of people, they get started in their 50s or 60s and they tend to look at what they don't have, which is youth and time and lack of responsibility. You end up with young kids. You sleep less. You have more responsibilities. But there's an in-between here of admitting that in a different phase of life, while you don't have the same freedom, you can't just go out till 2 a.m. every day when you got 3 kids at home. And by the way, me and Kellen have a joke. In general, everyone says like it's not that hard and their kids are great. I don't know about everyone else's family, but my family is like feral animals. So I don't know. I mean, it's not surprising. They have my genes, so they're just insane. It's just insane. But there are different things you can't do, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a new competitive advantage. And when you're in your 50s or 60s, you have a lot of experience. Or if you have young kids, you have a tremendous amount of grit and empathy that you don't have when you're young. When you're 20 and someone says they can't get a babysitter, you're like, we better get here.
Yeah.
When you have young kids and someone says they don't have a babysitter, you're like, that's one of the only things that we get. We get it.
I got it.
We get you.
Yep.
We get you. So in different phases, you got to be very careful to not emulate the wrong phase of life your upline is in. You need to get coached because you will very often miss your competitive advantage. Because if you're 20 and you try to act like somebody that has 2 or 3 kids and you're doing things based on making things convenient or making things easier or maximizing efficiency, you're probably going to miss out on what you have to offer, which is raw time and enthusiasm. So anyway, what was your question?
You got it. No, you pinned it. You pinned it.
Okay, cool. Oh, good. Excellent. I didn't want to over-prepare because I know Craig doesn't prepare. One of the top 5 craziest things I've ever heard, which I think is a lot to say in Amway in 18 years. Top 5 craziest things I've ever heard is Craig and Carrie came and did a seminar for the Pappalardo team. And he had just gone diamond. And he goes, I just started using a calendar.
Yeah. Yep.
What?
Yep.
Yeah, imagine working with that.
That was part of the level of crazy.
And I'm like calendar freak. Like my whole life's run by a calendar. Can you?
If it's not in my calendar,
Yeah.
100% chance it doesn't happen. If it's in my calendar, 50% chance I forgot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't want to over-prepare. So I just bought a file folder of undone talks because it's like a blanket. So anyway, anything you want to say while I look at my notes here?
Yeah, That's so good. Not every stimulus in your life is worth responding to.
That's good.
Not every thought is worthy of more attention.
Thank
In
you.
fact, think about this. Your first thought, you don't have control over. Your second thought, you do.
Yeah, it's good.
And the reason I bring this up is because I think we're in a society that's really, really hammering this whole burnout thing. In fact, I have a friend of mine who I know through a couple acquaintances who's not in the business, who runs a whole consulting business on burnout. He just goes from company to company talking about burnout. And man, I just can't get bought into burnout. I can't get bought into this idea because I think what's happening is your thoughts are controlling your stimuli. Like your stimuli are controlling your thoughts. And so this is social media. This is all the stuff we've talked about throughout this weekend. But at the end of the day, we have to take captive of our thoughts. And if we can do that in a day, in an hour, in a minute, 5-minute, 10-minute period, and I can learn how to captivate my thoughts so I can switch gears and go from being at my job, being at work, to being with my kids, and I can learn how to shut that stimuli off and I can move on to the next thing, my efficiency, my productivity, and when I talked about being able to surgically strike, that's where it all begins. And the amount of ecstasy or dopamine hit I get when the phone's away and I'm all in with my kids for 30 minutes, I love what the Tidwell said. 30 minutes with a 2-year-old, to them, feels like forever. To me, feels like forever.
Yes.
It's true.
And that I have to reprogram my brain in this season that means a lot. And if I spend those 30 quality minutes, I can go out and now I can do the things I need to do. So I don't know if that.
Yeah, I think it was them that said balance is doing the right thing at the right time for the right amount of time, right? And I think if you're struggling, if we're going to go down your path here a little bit, just with, getting burned out with whatever season of life you're in, your roots have become weak. And for us, we've just had to continually remind ourselves, even though we've gone through the exercise of identifying our values, but we continually every day have to talk about it. And anytime a decision comes across my desk or my lap with how I'm, an opportunity to spend my time, my energy, our money, I have to consult myself and I have to consult my husband of like, is this a heck yes or is this a heck no? Right? Is this in alignment with where we want to go or not? And I think too often we can just emotionalize everything and become quick to the trigger with like, hey, oh, that's a yes, right? My mom calls for an opportunity like that with family, that's a yes, right? You know, my friends want to plan a trip across the country, that's a yes. Because I'm a sanguine and I love to be around people and that's what feeds me. But I had to really get good at filtering out what I was saying yes and what I was saying no to, especially as we had a couple kids too.
A more complex life does not equal more happiness.
Absolutely.
A more complex life does not equate to more happiness.
Very true.
Go ahead. I think this is I think this is such a societal thing. We look at people on social media and we're like, wow, they have all these things going on. They have 7 streams of income. They must be so happy.
Yeah.
Right?
It's such a good point. So let me come to that, and I'll start there, where there's this continuum. And I think that very often in life, we skew to one extreme or the other, right? So you have the work all the time, and no one needs to see you, and you never need to see your family, which will create one-dimensional success. But then you also have people that say, I have to spend every waking moment with my family and my kids and being comfortable and doing the things that I want to do in that moment, which I also think is often us hiding as well. If I have to choose the two, which you don't, I'm going to choose the second, because if I look back, it's the life I want to live. But life isn't so simple. And I think it's important that we understand that we need to choose what is the life we're going to live, what sacrifices are important, and who we want to become. And you need to own whatever that is. One of the people I love to read is a historical figure called Epictetus. He's a Stoic philosopher. I listen to a lot of Ryan Holiday stuff, so I'm reading a book by Epictetus called The Art of Living. And there's a few lessons with this book, which, first off, Epictetus was a slave, for those who have not heard this story. And he did what he could with what he had. And he was so precocious and brilliant and vibrant that his owner's like, I think I gotta just send you to school, bro, because you seem brilliant. And he sent him to school, and the guy became a free teacher, a philosopher that taught philosophy, and his roots were as a slave. He started as a slave. But he talks about that no one can answer the question for you of what life you're gonna live. You have to choose. And you have to get really, really clear about what that looks like. And there is no amount of mentorship that can tell you who you're supposed to be.
Amen.
It also is not mutually exclusive that you can't have your individual spirit and direction and purpose that's unique to you. That does not mean you cannot be part of a team and operate in a system. These things don't need to be mutually exclusive. But Epictetus' quote is a good point he wrote. Personal merit can't be acquired through associating with other people of excellence, which I see a lot of people end up in a trap here. They associate with people of excellence, but that does not achieve your merit. You need to run your race. You need to do the things that you need to do. So me and Callan have been very intentional about how we structure our life and what we say no to and what we do. And the question we need to ask ourselves as a family is, are we happy with the life we're living? Am I happy with what I'm creating? Am I living my values? Am I doing the thing that I feel I'm meant to do? Not wishing I was someone else or somewhere else. One of my favorite things about Luis and Jackie is how healthy they are and how humble they are in their achievement, because their achievements don't have them. And that is so rare for people of high achievement. He said, right now is our moment to then help you come to your moment. Your success should be a decoration on your life. It can't be the foundation. If you have to win, you have to perform, you will never be free. Pure ambition is as much of a prison as greed and envy and all of the other negative emotions. You do the thing to do the thing. So when it comes to family and it comes to gears, whether you're changing gears from inertia to doing something, maybe you've caught a vision and you've decided now that here's what I'm going to do. It starts with the first step. It starts with saying hello. It starts with opening a book. It starts with beginning your journey and not despising your humble beginning and not being embarrassed about where you are. You talked about having self-awareness about where you are. You have to acknowledge your capacity and where you are. I can't just say to Callan, and I've done this many times in the last few years, we got to go back to what we were doing. I can't go back to what I was doing. I got 3 kids. If I go back to what I'm going to do, what I was doing, I'm going to lose my family. The way I was acting without kids isn't possible anymore. So you have to get really, really clear. One of the things I'll also recommend you do, I find that most people spend most of their life in guilt and shame and embarrassment, disappointment, frustration. And this is a construct that you chose. And most people are not willing to admit that they chose it. So we want someone else's life. We want to be somebody else. Here's something that I do. Let me flash forward and imagine I'm 90. And I'm looking back on my life. They call this Solomon's paradox. Solomon was a king. Many of you guys are Christian. But he was someone that was unbelievably amazing at dispensing the best advice with 300 dysfunctional wives and a dysfunctional relationship with his kids. Right? So the Solomon paradox is when you can give great advice, but you can't take it. You can't listen. I'm like, I can tell you what to do, but my life's a mess. So I like to think, okay, if I'm 90, what am I going to look back on and actually wish I had more of? And when we do that for ourselves, it gives us some perspective about what we should be doing. It doesn't mean, I think, having the impact that Luis and Jackie have and the discipline is one of the things that Cal and I want to do and we plan to do and are going to do. But we need to make sure that we do it in a way that honors our values and doesn't burn our life up in the process. So for those of you that are at different phases, it's important to keep in mind and to get coached, get some clarity, get some perspective, and get some advice on some of these different things for how can I, in where I am and the situation I have, not use it as an excuse. It doesn't not exist, but not use it as an excuse for what can I do? How can I make this happen? How can I go 20 wide or go 3-6 or go on a 90-day core run with my sick relatives, with my parents that are elderly that I need to take care of, with my kids, with my health issue? How can I do it from where I am?
Yeah, and I think to that point, one of the things that Allie and I have a kind of a phrase in our home that we use, and it's tied to this principle, is that not every problem, and this is kind of the same idea, not every problem that we have in our life is worthy of time and energy. So a lot of us are actually, maybe it's through different inputs, but we're using problems as a crux in our life that actually aren't problems we really need to deal with or can deal with. Maybe they're not in our control or they're just not worthy of our time. So one of the principles, and I was talking to a lot of people this weekend about this, is when you're really cerebral, which I'm not. I'm just like, Craig is?
Me neither.
Yeah, right. I saw the smoke coming off as you were freaking talking. I'm like, I failed philosophy class in college, and I'm like, I just got my philosophy lesson right there. I didn't need it. But one of the things we say is we fix things along the way.
That's it.
We fix things along the way because at the end of the day, we're not going to stop because our marriage is we've been through stuff. We've been married for this is what year is it? 9, 8? Year 8 of our marriage. We've had challenges in our marriage already, but we said, hey, we're gonna fix it. I came into the business with $14,000 of credit card debt at 23 years old. I was modeling what my family had done with their brokenness and the generation curse when it comes to finances, but we fix things along the way. Yeah. And I think if you can have that mentality, it's it takes a lot less. It puts a lot less pressure on the need to be perfect.
Yeah.
To go forward. And we want to model for our kids. One of the paradigms we're having right now is we're not diamonds yet.
Sure.
Our kids are going to see us go diamond.
Yeah.
What a flipping blessing. I spoke going diamond, though, that I was going to be diamond at 29.
I'm with you. I was supposed to be Crown Ambassador by 2015.
There you go. But now our kids are going to get to watch mom and dad fail, overcome, become, be on our knees praying, crying, emotional, on stage. All of these things are going to get to happen because we didn't hit the goal in the time we wanted to, and we didn't become the people in the time we wanted to, but God's got a different plan for our life, and we're fired up about that.
Amen.
Yeah, it's that owning that victor mentality over that victim mentality, right? We all have different traumas in our life, but it's choosing, and this environment just pulls this out of you if you let it. Pulls that potential of, hey, how can I take the perspective and the mindset of gratefulness whenever I start spiraling, whenever I feel overwhelmed, which will happen as you're building your business. If you're taking action, if you're getting uncomfortable, I just stop and I'm like, okay, what am I grateful for, right? I've got a solid marriage. I've got an incredible circle of influence that has shrunk drastically over the last 10 years. And what our culture won't praise that, right? But the value of that circle for me has skyrocketed infinitely. And I take so much pride in that. And I heard someone on our team say this once, Koya, who's going Founders Platinum. She said, intent reveals desire, but action reveals commitment. And I realized that if I wanted to create that life that I love, I'm not always going to love the feeling of doing what I need to do. I feel like one of my highest callings in life has been being a mother and a wife and a parent, right? But I need more, right? I feel like I'm called to more and not just hiding behind that.
Yeah.
But stretching myself, getting uncomfortable to serve people within this environment. And it doesn't always feel good, but I'll tell you, I love the way it makes me feel after I do it. And I love the result that I see that service has in other people's life, and that's what keeps us going. And we're here for the long haul, and really, really blessed and privileged.
I love it. It's been so great getting to know you guys. You guys are so wonderful. For me, I really have one rule that for people that I like, outside of being funny, but that's separate. The main rule, that's a joke. The main rule for me is that people are just authentic. I don't care if we're different. I don't care what you believe being different, acting, preferences being different. I just don't like people who are phony. You just live in who you are. It's totally fine. Be who you are. And I'll close in a quote from one of my favorite authors, Albert Camus, and we talked about, love the life you have. I just want to make sure that you're happy and thankful and excited and appreciative on the way, because otherwise we miss the whole ride, which is the point over it. So this quote about being yourself, for if there's a sin against life, it consists perhaps not so much in despair of life, as much as in hoping for another life and in eluding the implacable grandeur of yours. Don't wish you were anyone other than you, and go and make your life the unique masterpiece that it's meant to be. God bless you guys.
For the calendar year 2024, the average income from Amway